Hello, today we are going to talk about multiplying fractions. There are different types of problems when you're multiplying fractions, so we're going to go through each type together. The first type is when you have a fraction being multiplied by another fraction. Like for example, 2/3 times 4/9. There's 3 simple steps to follow. Step number 1 is asking me to multiply my numerators. So if I look here, the first numerator is a 2, the second is a 4. So I'm going to multiply those to get a numerator of 8. Multiply the denominators is step number 2. Step number 2 would be 3 times 9, which is 27. Now, step number 3 is to reduce or simplify. Remember, this step is optional. It just so happens that 8 over 27 is already simplified. Therefore, this is my final solution. Now, sometimes you'll be asked to multiply a whole number by a fraction. And in this case, there's actually 4 steps to follow. Step number 1 is asking us to rewrite the whole number as an equivalent improper fraction. That's just a fancy way of saying put a 1 under the whole number. By putting a 1 under the whole number, you've changed it from a whole number to an improper fraction. Step number 2 would be to then multiply your numerators, followed by multiplying the denominators, and then the last step, which of course is optional, is to reduce or simplify. So let's do an example of a whole number times a fraction. Here we have 6 times 3/4. So step number 1 said to rewrite the whole number as an equivalent improper fraction. So I'm going to rewrite 6 as 6 over 1. Copy the rest of this problem. Now, I want to talk to you about something called cross-canceling or cross-reducing, sometimes called cross-simplifying. Basically, what it involves is you looking at the numbers that are across from each other. For example, 6 and 4. You ask yourself, what is a common factor of 6 and 4? Well, that would be 2. We can put 2 into 6 3 times. And we can put 2 into 4 2 times. Copy the rest of the problem. And by doing that, I've made my numbers much smaller so that when it's time for me to multiply my numerators and then my denominators, I have a much smaller answer to work with, which is 9 over 2. If I wanted to take it a step further and simplify that, 2 goes into 9 4 times with 1 left over, making my final simplified answer as 4.5. The last type that I want to talk about is something called a mixed number times a mixed number. Step number 1 is asking me to convert a mixed number to an improper fraction. We've talked about that already. 1 2/3 would change to 5/3. While 2 1/2 will change to 5/2. Step number 2, multiply your numerators. 5 times 5 is 25. Multiply my denominators, 6. And then step 4, again, which is optional, is to reduce. So if I wanted to, I could leave my answer as 25 over 6, or I could simplify this. I know that 6 goes into 25 4 times with 1 left over, and you keep the denominator of 6, making your final simplified answer 4 1/6.